Good morning, children. Welcome back to e-learning classes of P.N.AMERSEY High School. Hope you all are safe. So, children, let's begin our chapter number 5, Quality. It's written by John Galsworthy. John was born on 14th of August 1867. He was an English novelist and playwright. Notable works include the Forsyte Saga and its sequels, a modern comedy, and End of the Chapter. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1932, and he died on 31st of January 1933. Before we start the lesson, let me ask you, can a shoemaker be called an artist? Yes, if he has same skill and pride in his trade as any other artist and the same respect for it too. Mr. Gessler, a German shoemaker settled in London, is a perfect artist. So let's read the story to see how he devotes his life to his art. I knew him from the days of my extreme youth. Extreme youth means when the author was quite young. Because he made my father's boots. He lived with his elder brother in his shop, which was in a small by street in a fashionable part of London. The shop had a certain quiet distinctions. There was no sign upon it other than the name of Gessler Brothers, and in the window the few pairs of boots. He made only what was ordered, and what he made never failed to fit. To make boots, such boots as he made, seemed to me then, and still seems to me, mysterious and wonderful. So here author talks about Gessler brothers who make shoes, and their shoes were mysterious and wonderful. I remember well my shy remarks one day while stretching out to him my youthful foot. Isn't it awfully hard to do, Mr. Gessler? And his answer, given with a sudden smile from out of the redness of his beard, it is an art. So, children, here once writer went to Mr. Gessler, and he thought it was not easy to make his shoes, but Mr. Gessler smiled and said, "It is an art." It was not possible to go to him very often. His boots lasted terribly, having something beyond the temporary, some essence of boot stitched into them. Mr. Gessler's boots were so long lasting that there wasn't any need to go often and often to his shop to buy shoes. One went in, not as into most shops, but restfully, as one enters a church, and sitting on the single wooden chair waited, a guttural sound and the tip-tap of his slippers beating the narrow wooden stairs, and he would stand before one without coat, a little band in leather apron with sleeves turned back, blinking as if awakened from some dream of boots. So here author is talking about Mr. Gessler and his shop. His shop was quiet, there was no noise, even a person can hear the tip-tap noise of his slipper. I would say, "How do you do, Mr. Gessler? Could you make me a pair of Russian leather boots?" Without a word, he would leave me retiring. As he came or into the other portion of the shop, I would continue to rest in the wooden chair, inhaling the incense of his trade. Incense is a kind of smell. Here is the smell of leather. It's compared to the incense of the church. Soon he would come back holding in his hand a piece of gold brown leather, eyes fixed on it. He would remark, "What a beautiful piece." When I too had admired it, he would speak again, "When do you want them?" And I would answer, "Oh, as soon as you conveniently can." And he would say, "For a fortnight?" Or if he were his elder brother, I'll ask my brother. Then I would murmur, "Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Gessler." "Good morning," he would reply, still looking at the leather in his hand. and as I moved to the door, I would hear the tip tap of his slippers going up the stairs to his dream of boots. I cannot forget that day on which I had occasion to say to him, Mr. Gessler, that last pair of boots creaked, you know. He looked at me for a time without replying, as if expecting me to withdraw or qualify the statement, then said, It shouldn't have creaked. It did, I am afraid. You got them wet before they found themselves. I don't think so. Once it happened that the shoes made by Mr. Gessler were making creak sound. So Mr. Gessler said that you must have wet them. Now let's see what happens. At that he lowered his eyes as if hunting for memory of those boots, and I felt sorry I had mentioned this grave thing. Send them back, he said. I looked at them. Some boots, he continued slowly, are bad from birth. If I can do nothing with them, I take them off your bill. When author complained about his boots creaking, Mr. Gessler said, Send those boots back. If I cannot repair them, I'll off them from your bill, means I'll give your money back. Once I went absent-mindedly into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large firm. He took my order without showing me any leather, and I could feel his eyes penetrating the inferior covering of my foot. At last he said, Those are not my boots. Penetrating means to make a way through something. The tone was not one of anger, nor of sorrow, not even of contempt, but there was in it something quiet that froze the blood. He put his hand down and pressed a finger on the place where the left boot was not quite comfortable. It hurts you there, he said. Those big firms have no self-respect. And then, as if something had given way within him, he spoke long and bitterly. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the condition of hardships of his trade. So one day what happened, when this author went to his shop absent-mindedly, because that shoes were not made by Mr. Gessler, he complained about those shoes. But Mr. Gessler, he recognized, he said that no, these boots are not made by me. But bitterly he added that the condition of his trade was not good. It means there are many other shops in the market now, and they get it all, he said. They get it by advertisement, not by work. Work done by Mr. Gessler was very good. Customer doesn't have to go again and again to his shop to buy shoes. Who love our boots? It comes to this. Presently I have no work. Every year it gets less. You'll see. And looking at his lined face, I saw things I had never noticed before. Bitter things and bitter struggle. And what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. By this paragraph, we understand that Mr. Gessler has no work and his trade is going down slowly. He is so worried that his beard is getting grey. As best I could, I explained the circumstances of those all-oment boots. But his face and voice made so deep an impression that during the next few minutes I ordered many pairs. They lasted longer than ever, and I was not able to go to him for nearly 2 years. It was many months before my next visit to his shop. This time it appeared to be his elder brother handling a piece of leather. Well, Mr. Gessler, I said, how are you? He came close and peered at me. I am Brady. Well, he said slowly, but my elder brother is dead. Here what happened, children, when Mr. Gessler is discussing about his trade, this author, he ordered so many boots, and for 2 years there wasn't any need to go to that shop. So after 2 years when he went there, Mr. Gessler was no more. And I saw that it was indeed himself, but how aged and when? And never before had I heard him mention his brother. Much shocked, I murmured, Oh, I am sorry. Yes, he answered, he was a good man. He made a good boot. But he is dead. And he touched the top of his head, where the hair had suddenly gone as thin as it had been on that of his poor brother. to indicate, I suppose, the cause of his death. Do you want any boots? And he held up the leather in his hand. It's a beautiful piece. So here in the shop, Mr. Gessler is no more, but his brother is there, and the author ordered few more pair of shoes. I ordered several pairs. It was very long before they came, but they were better than ever. One simply could not wear them out, and soon after that I went abroad. It was over a year before I was again in London, and the first shop I went to was my old friend's. I had left a man of 60, I came back to one of 75, pinched and worn, who genuinely this time did not at first know me. Do you want any boots? He said. I can make them quickly. It is a slack time. I answered, please, I want boots all around every kind. I had given those boots up when one evening they came. One by one, I tried them on. In shape and fit, in finish and quality of leather, they were the best he had ever made. I flew downstairs, wrote a check, and posted it at once with my own hand. A week later, passing the little street, I thought I would go in and tell him how splendidly the new boots fitted. But when I came to where his shop had been, his name was gone. I went in very much disturbed. In the shop there was a young man with an English face. Mr. Gessler in? I said. No, sir, he said. No, but we can attend you anything with pleasure. We have taken the shop over. Yes, I said. But Mr. Gessler? Oh, he answered, dead. Dead? But I only received these boots from him last Wednesday week. Children, when author ordered the pairs of shoes to Mr. Gessler's brother after a week, when he went back to thank him and to tell him how his boots are very good, but he is no more. He said, poor old man starved himself. Slow starvation. Children, starvation means when a person doesn't have any food to eat and he is hungry. The doctor called it. You see, he went to work in such a way, would keep the shop on, wouldn't have a soul touch his boots except himself. When he got an order, it took him such a time, people won't wait. He lost everybody. And there he had sit going on and on. I'll say that for him, not a man in London made a better boot. But look at the competition. He never advertised, would have the best leather too, and do it all himself. Well, there it is. What could you expect with his ideas? But starvation, that may be a bit flowery, as their saying is, but I know myself he was sitting over his boots day and night, to the very last, you see. Children, there was such competition, and he never advertised his work. His leather was good, but then two people were not going to his shop, and he was starving. Starving means had no food to eat. He was all the time busy with his work. I used to watch him, never gave himself time to eat, never had a penny in the house. All went in rent and leather. How he lived so long, I don't know. He regularly let his fire go out. He was a character, but he made good boots. Yes, I said, he made good boots. And it was really very heart-touching story written by Mr. John Galsworthy. We complete the chapter over here. I'll send you the PDF as soon as possible. Till then, stay safe. Thank you and have a nice day.